Welcome, everyone. I'll call this meeting of the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Commission on July 20th to order. We'll start with a recitation of our meeting rules and how we're going to go about this.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, everyone. Please silence your cell phones to minimize distraction during the meeting. When the Chair calls for public comment, please approach the podium to indicate that you wish to speak. Virtual participants should use the raised hand function to indicate that they wish to speak during public comment. Once your name is called, please unmute and turn your camera on to provide your comments. Please state your name before speaking. The city reserves the right to turn videos off or mute participants. All comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The primary format to access and participate in this meeting is in person at City Hall. Virtual access to view or participate in the meeting cannot be guaranteed. The chat function will not be monitored. If you have any trouble, the meeting can be viewed on the city's YouTube channel and cable channel 25.
Thank you very much. Our first item of business normally would be to talk about minutes from the last meeting, but there's been difficulty in compiling those minutes, so that will be deferred until our next meeting. And with that, we'll go into committee reports. Do we have anything from the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Organization Policy Board?
No.
Thank you. Anything from the North Lawrence Comprehensive Corridor Study?
Yes. The second open meeting at venue 1234, whatever the number is, I think it was July 8th. And the consultant had done a terrific job of putting up multiple boards for various sites that had been identified earlier as opportunity sites. And we had a chance to vote as to which things we thought would be good for the community. All those boards are still available online, and if you're interested in seeing them and voting, or voting again, you have the opportunity to do that. I think that is until the end of this week. And Bill was there. You may even want to make a comment.
No,
Okay.
it's fine.
It was very well done, and I think we're going to have a good report from the consultant.
Yeah, if I could, I'm a broken record on this. I wasn't able to join the open house, but I'm curious if there were any conversations or representation of the development that's planned around the Chiefs moving into Kansas and how that impacts the North Lawrence Corridor report or study.
No, there was no further
Yeah.
conversation about that. At your request, I
Yeah.
raised the question
Yeah.
earlier.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope that you'll continue to do that. Presumably, that report ultimately finds its way back here. Is that right? Before it goes on to become something that we act on. Is that a fair statement?
That's the anticipation, yes.
So I would just say that multiple times I've asked for consideration to be made of this. So far, it doesn't seem to merit a response from that group. And I would just suggest to them that if they want to find all commissioners favorable on the outcome, that we at least have the conversation. So I'd ask you to please take that back, maybe with some earnest.
I certainly will, and I would invite you to email them or call them or talk to them, come to a meeting, because I think they would find you very persuasive.
Well, I'm happy to I'm happy to share my thoughts and reasoning on that, and I would certainly welcome a call. I'm not sure exactly who to. I'm talking to my planning commissioner's representative to the group right now, right? So, if you want me to call somebody specific, please tell me who that is, and I can do that if you'd rather.
I'd be happy to do
All
that.
right, thank you.
Do you have anything to add, Amy?
Nothing further, really. Yeah.
Okay. All right, on to communications. Are there any communications not in our packet?
All communications received by the deadline were included as part of your packet.
Do we have any written communications from staff, planning commissioners, or other commissioners?
None this evening.
Any written action of any waiver request determinations made by the city engineer?
Also none this evening.
Any disclosure by any commissioners of ex parte communications?
I had one conversation. Actually, no, that's for Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
No, nothing.
I will say that I happened to have a conversation with Mr. Brust. We just happened to run into each other in public and didn't talk about this item tonight, but just chatted. Anybody else? All right, any declarations of abstentions from specific agenda items by commissioners? All right, we will now move into general public comment. General public comment is for items not on the agenda tonight, and you're still limited to 3 minutes per item. So is there any general public comment from the audience tonight? And if there is, please come forward. And I see one now.
Good evening, commissioners. I don't know if you can hear me. Dominique 66049. I'm going to get my grievance out of the way. So this is more of like a procedural thing. The staff report for the open space zoning was not posted until 1 o'clock today, well after that the public comment written portion was closed. And so that's my grievance, that I was not able to look. And there was some confusion on my part looking at different languages from the different staff reports, and that addition of that staff report would have clarified some of the information we'll be discussing tonight. Additionally, I just wanted to have like a broader discussion about planning in general. So I went to the Lawrence Public Library and went to their sale, and I found the Citizen's Guide to Planning. I opened this book up and I go, oh, it's actually from the Lawrence Douglas County Metropolitan Planning Office. It's got the stamp. And so I started reading it, and it of course, I've only gotten like a couple pages in, but kind of is making me think about like what do we define as planning, and then who are the people in our planning. So obviously we have the planning staff, we have the developers, and we have the planning commission, the city commission, and we have citizens. And everybody should come together to understand how planning works. And I think when we look at it, I think we cannot, to me, planning feels sterile. And I know it's done that way because there are certain precedents, and I know that it's a lot easier for us to discuss parcels of land on a piece of paper and look at maps, and I really appreciate maps, and I like pieces of paper too as well. But I don't think we take the totality of planning. I don't think we understand the consequences of what we're doing. And so I want to generally speak about like, not the topics tonight, but the idea of the SLT and where we are standing. So, sorry, I was just looking at the time. Do we remember what happened in 1990 on the corner of 6th and now what is the SLT, K10? The Elkins Prairie got plowed. And this was a 70 to 80 acre prairie that was remnant that had 2 federally endangered plants on it. And it was plowed because of politics. And I wasn't there during the time, so I couldn't have told you exactly what the politics are, but there was politics definitely involved. And we have this idea of progress, and we have this idea that we have to go forward, and we have to make everything better, and we have to do economic development. But the question I would pose to you is, now that we have seen the consequences of the west leg of the SLT, with the massive amount of death that it has had on it too as well, it started in death by plowing of a remnant prairie, and we still continue to have death on that segment because of neglectful planning for the future. Do you think the citizens back in 1990 would have said, yes, let's build the SLT to surround our city so we cannot grow? The SLT has continued to hinder any thoughtful planning, and then we get into this trap where we have to say, oh, we're doing things, we have to do it now. Now is the time, that we're never going to have another opportunity. But again, are we thinking about the long term, and are we thinking about everybody who's involved? And when I say everybody, I'm not just talking about people. Are we thinking about the land?
Time limit is up.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other general public comment? Do we have anybody online?
No, I'm not seeing anybody using the raise hand function.
All right, one last call for any general public comment in the room. If not, we will move on to our regular agenda. We are going to handle all 7 of the items together, as they are all certainly related. So there will be a lengthy presentation and then discussion, and there will need to be votes on each item, but we will discuss them all as one.
All right, good evening, Commissioners. Catherine Week, I'm one of the planners. Can you see me over this, or just need to go down just a little bit more? Corby's taller than I am. All right, so I'm Catherine Week, one of the planners. I'm going to start us off with this kind of relay of staff reports and presentations for you. I am presenting the comprehensive plan amendment that goes with this project application, the series of applications for the annexation and rezonings. Just a little history, anytime we have a rezoning or development of land that does not conform or partially doesn't conform to an adopted area or comprehensive plan, we have to do what's called a comprehensive plan amendment. Bring that before the commissions for consideration to see if it can then, if that does pass, if then it would meet that criteria point in review. So that's where we're at on this first item. They are presenting an annexation and rezonings. Did somebody ask me a question? Sorry. They are presenting an annexation and rezonings, series of rezoning requests. The comprehensive plan amendment applies to the area in the west of K10 plan that is just adjacent or just west of Kansas Highway 10. And their proposal is to change some of those future land uses that were designated in that west of K10 plan, where there was a kind of a focus on the industrial districts and some high residential. They are proposing to change that to commercial-focused zoning along that west of K10 corridor and relocate some of that higher density residential to a little bit more of the northeast area from where it was previously. They're also proposing to reconfigure open space. There is open space currently designated in the plan. They are proposing to reconfigure the open space to a more centrally located area. And if you have questions about how that plays out as far as review of open space, we can talk about that when we get down into it. So these are the applications you're going to be looking at this evening. Mine is the very first one, and that's the amendment. This one is showing you the location where this annexation and rezonings are taking place. As I mentioned, this is west of K10. It is bounded by that Kansas Highway 40 on the north, Highway 10 on the east, the rural Douglas County on the west, and on the south. So the key points for this amendment, as I mentioned, they are requesting an amendment to Plan 2040 because the west of K10 plan is adopted by reference in Plan 2040. This would be a change to Plan 2040, but it specifically would change those future land uses in certain areas in the west of K10 plan. Again, this area is currently designated for a multitude of uses and open spaces. This particular amendment is outlining a development, a focused development area west of K10 along that corridor where they are choosing to request more focus on commercial center type of uses as opposed to industrial. It should be noted with our new land development code and our zoning designations, our commercial districts are kind of mixed districts now, so they do permit some of those industrial uses as well, but they are proposing zoning designations that would change that focus from industrial to commercial. Also, with adopted or comprehensive plans, any amendments have to come before the Planning Commission. They make a recommendation to the City Commission and the Board of County Commissioners. If one of these bodies would vote to deny the amendment does not move forward, so that would not change the plan. But any other applications that have been submitted with this amendment could continue to move through the process. The implication would be that it would just not be in conformance with those recommendations in the future land use plans. So to be brief, and we'll go through the gist of it, but this is basically an amendment to change that future land use map. One other thing that we're doing in this is that there are some references to some outdated material in that west of K10 plan. It references a type of neighborhood planning called TND planning, and that is being removed because that is no longer in our code. So as part of this, just as a cleanup, that is also in your report. You'll see that referenced. I do want to note that this area was identified as one of those areas to work on a total revision of that area plan. Because it's mid-process and there is not a designated timeline for completion, when this applicant is bringing this proposal forward, because that deadline is not in the foreseeable future or timed with their proposal, they have to present this amendment to address those areas that they would like to address. So this amendment is not a comprehensive change to that west of K-10 plan. It is just focused on these areas that are impacted by the request before you, and that's for the annexation of the rezoning areas. Okay, so there are review criteria with comprehensive plan amendments, just like for rezonings and any other items that we bring before you. For those review criteria, we look at how the proposed amendment will address or result from changed circumstances or unforeseen conditions that were not understood or addressed at the time of the plan or at the time the plan was adopted. One of the main focuses in the staff report is this plan was adopted under the Horizon 2020 comprehensive plan. Since that time, even though there are some revisions, the revisions took place before we adopted our new comprehensive plan, which is Plan 2040. We also have transportation plans that have been adopted since this plan, T 2050, and then we also have a land development code that's been adopted. So there are some unforeseen circumstances at the time the plan was originally approved and now. So that is addressed periodically through your staff report under the criteria, but I did want to point that out. How does the proposed amendment advance a clear and public purpose? As with any area plan, there are goals that are identified in area plans. This particular request does touch on several of those goals. Staff tried to point out in the staff report that while a multitude of goals are addressed over time, the community may have more focus on some goals over other goals that they did 10 or 15 years ago, and now we have goals that are still identified in the plan, so all goals are valid, but some may have more priority over time than others may have in the past. And staff did point out that in the Plan 2040, there was a high focus on maintaining industrial areas and drawing industrial business to the city. Our community is now identifying that while we still want to do that, and those goals are still valid, there are also other goals that are competing with those, which is providing multitude of different housing types, affordable housing, and some commercial opportunities to bring that tax base. So while the staff report identifies that all of the goals apply, the Planning Commission and City Commission may determine that some goals have a higher priority now than they did in the past. So staff is pointing that out in the staff report. How does the proposed amendment result in reasonably compatible land use relationships? These uses that they're identifying that they would like to change do require uses that are near or adjacent to arterial or transportation, easy access to transportation. These commercial uses and high residential that they're proposing just west of Highway 10 are compatible with that type of land use. And then it maintains that focus of the more lower intensity residential to the west or towards the rural area of the county. So the area is in Tier 2, which is an identified area for future growth. So Tier 2 is anticipated to annex within the time frame of our plan. And so this amendment is trying to touch on the consistency and reasonable compatible land uses for this area as it develops and be compatible with both the comprehensive plan and the west of K-10 plan. And how will the proposed amendment advance the interests of citizens of Lawrence and Douglas County as a whole? I think I touched on that a little bit with the applicant, stating that the priorities may have changed. Commercial and residential maybe are higher priorities than maybe industrial was under the 2020 plan. Although industrial is not being eliminated, the focus is definitely slightly less with this amendment. So staff is recommending approval of the amendment. Staff did feel that it does meet the intent of the goals. It kind of shifts the priority of the goals, but still meets that intent. And then if appropriate, the chair and the vice chair would sign that Planning Commission resolution and forward it on with a recommendation for approval to the City Commission and Board of County Commissioners. And I'll be happy to stand for questions. I think you guys want to go through the application or the total presentation, but I'll be over here for questions if you need them. So.
Good evening, Commissioners. Ellie Mullins, planner. Lower this just a bit. Okay. I'm going to continue on with the rest of the applications.
Are we taking them all
Yes.
at once?
Yes.
Okay, so then the next items are a continuation of the comprehensive plan amendment you just heard. So we're going to start with A26-0003. It's an annexation. So it proposes to annex 288 acres into the city along the western boundary. Alongside the annexation, 5 zoning districts are proposed for consideration for the newly incorporated area. Approval of the rezonings require that the annexation first be approved. So I'll begin by discussing that. The proposed annexation area sits at the southwestern corner of Highway K10 and West 6th Street and extends down to North 1500 Road, Bob Billings Parkway. I wanted to clarify that the original proposal was for 650 acres, but was reduced down to 288 after one of the property owners decided not to move forward. The westmost tracts were the ones removed from the proposal. So just a little bit about the type of annexation. Annexations that are petitioned by the property owner and are contiguous to city limits may be annexed via the consent annexation process. For proposals over 10 acres, that first begins with an application going to the City Commission to be initiated. The item was originally initiated March 3rd, but then an amendment to reduce that total area was approved at the July 7th City Commission. As part of that, notice gets sent to the utility companies in the rural area, and so that is underway to accommodate any facilities that are in that area that would come into the city. After being initiated, it comes to you all to consider and give your recommendation, and then it'll go back to the City Commission for decision. So for annexations, we review the project against the growth management policies in Chapter 3 of Plan 2040. So those main goals are right here. Goal 1 is to protect and preserve rural character through compatible design, conservation, and strong growth management principles. Goal 2 is to direct growth in alignment with planned infrastructure, prioritizing infill development before expanding through annexation, while ensuring community needs are met through benefits provided as Lawrence grows. And Goal 3, annexation into Lawrence shall be economical and efficient for all parties. I will discuss the multiple components that we looked at in relation to these goals, such as the proposed boundaries and zonings, the proposed community benefits, the area plan, and the applicant's service delivery plan in comparison to our capital improvement plan and service plans. Defining potential areas for growth is key to ensuring efficient and adequate development takes place. Plan 2040 established 3 growth tiers for development of land in and surrounding Lawrence based on planned availability of infrastructure and utilities. This area lies mainly within Tier 2, that's the green area. Everything inside the city limits is in blue there. And there is a small portion right at the corner over here that is within Tier 3. Plan 2040 encourages annexation of Tier 2 land when development is proposed in the area and city services are available for extension to that area. Tier 3 land is only recommended for annexation when it is the only way to address a community need. We have the existing zoning in the area and the existing land use. The area lies within the West of K10 area plan, which was just discussed by Catherine. It's currently a mix of agricultural and transitional agricultural zoning and is primarily used for agricultural purposes. The West of K10 plan states that the future land uses within the area shall incorporate a mix of housing types, mixed-use neighborhoods and commercial centers within the planning area. The proposed rezonings include multiple residential densities that support a variety of housing types, and the commercial district allows for a substantial commercial center in the area. However, the proposal does not include any true mixed-use zoning districts. The plan also encourages the incorporation of employment centers and public parks and open space. The proposed zoning districts for the area accommodate for commercial employment opportunities and a large conservation area within the annexation. You just received the amendment to adjust the future land use map, and staff found that the proposal to meets the overall scope and vision of the development within the area, though it is not entirely aligned with the locations presented on the future land use map within the West of K10 plan. Overall, the proposed annexation was found to be in compliance with the plan. So when considering annexation of Tier 2 and Tier 3 land, the city shall consider the community benefit to be provided. Plan 2040 provides a list that includes but is not limited to provision of affordable housing, provision of land, amenities, or facilities for public purposes, preservation of environmentally sensitive lands, creation of employment opportunities, and addressing specific goals included in the city's strategic plan. The proposed development creates 110.5 acres of residential zoning. The additional acreage provides the opportunity to develop multiple types of housing across 3 ranges of density, which has the potential to reduce the strain on the existing housing market within the city of Lawrence. The additional residential development opportunities, along with the proposed inclusion of affordable housing projects, may increase the city's stock of affordable units, which is a priority for the city. However, I just want to clarify there are no development applications currently proposed for the area, only the zonings. The submitted rezoning applications request a P2, which is open space zoning area of approximately 51 acres to cover an existing conservation easement, providing a large area of open space within the city limits. As well, the service delivery plan shows 1 other nature park as a potential community benefit. Again, no development plans have been submitted for that. Additionally, the annexation includes an associated CC commercial center rezoning for approximately 126.7 acres. The CC district allows a variety of greater intensity commercial uses at a larger scale. The proposed CC area has the potential to bring employment opportunities to the area, satisfying an additional community benefit. Other potential benefits that were identified include proposed trails throughout the annexation area and ability to master plan a large area under the current code. If area within Tier 3 is proposed to be annexed, it should be done so only to address an identified community need. The Tier 3 area included in the annexation is a corner of an existing parcel, which is primarily within Tier 2. While the area in Tier 3 is simply included because it is included in that parcel, and the tier lines weren't necessarily based on parcel lines when they were created, it is proposed to be zoned R2, a residential zoning that permits multiple housing types at a density of 4 to 6 units per acre, or a minimum of 5,000 square foot lots. So that goes into that, feeding that community benefit of housing. The existing 2018 housing study and then the more recently completed affordable housing study both identify a need for more units at a variety of price points and sizes. Additional units in the total supply provide an opportunity to address this need in a way that has been limited due to supply constraints in developable land. I wanted to take note, it should be taken into consideration that the majority of the annexation area is agricultural land, with a significant amount falling within prime farmland, Class 1 soils, or Class 2 soils. While minimizing agricultural land conversion is a priority of the plan, much of this area has been planned for development within the small area plan since the 2000s. As well, this would be a reduction in in general, open rural land in the county, and there would be a significant change in the development potential for the area. However, staff felt that the level of development has been forecasted in this area for quite a while, again, through the small area plan and the Plan 2040 growth tiers. And the scope of development is consistent with the small area plan. The westmost portion of the annexation proposal proposes a low-density residential district, which is one of the more compatible districts with the rural area while still achieving the goals in the comprehensive plan for additional residential options. Plans for future land use expect additional development beyond the current boundaries of the rest of the area there, and a gradient should be included as the remainder, a gradient of zoning should be included as the remainder of that west of K10 area develops. The proposed P2 open space zoning over an existing conservation area and required sensitive lands protections for residentially zoned districts in the annexation will account for some open space protection, but the reduction in farmland and change in rural character should be considered under Plan 2040. The comprehensive plan contains competing values, and we look at how the proposal stacks up against the breadth of goals included in that plan. Again, staff found that with the planned growth in this area and the conversion of rural land was appropriate. Okay, next we're going to move on to talking about utilities with the service delivery plan. So as part of the annexation review, we look at existing infrastructure capabilities and plans for extension and expansion to serve the additional incorporated area. The applicant submitted the service delivery plan. Here's a snip of it on the screen, which outlines a potential plan for extension of multiple city services to the area. The annexation area was broken up into 3 phases based on capacity and required infrastructure expansions, as well as the applicant's forecasted timeline. You can see phase 1 in green over here, phase 2 in yellow, and 3 in purple. The plan was included in your packet, but I'll touch on a few of the main service expansions proposed. These plans are still getting refined between the applicant and staff, and a list of comments and modifications from staff was listed in the report. We'll start with the street network. So if annexed, the street network must be designed and constructed to meet Transportation 2050, the major thoroughfares map and city street standards. Planned and existing roadways will require dedication of right-of-way to meet the required width during the platting phase. The applicant is responsible for the fees associated with improving constructing right-of-way to city standards, though there are potential other funding structures like a benefit district that would go through their own separate process in consideration down the line if that was pursued. The proposed street alignment and classification within the service delivery plan includes fewer collector streets and connections within the area than the major thoroughfares map. However, the plan does show the inclusion of an additional residential collector street. Street alignment will require further revision and a refinement as the phases within the annexation area plat and develop. Some preliminary modifications were listed on page 10 of the staff report for the annexation. And then as well, the final extension of or final design of an extension of Bob Billings Parkway was funded and approved by the City Commission. Construction of the extension is contingent on a benefit district, but there are no other street projects within the annexation that are funded. For sanitary sewer, currently a 15-inch gravity sewer interceptor line crosses into the annexation area at the southeast corner. The service delivery plan shows gravity sanitary sewer pipes to existing manholes within the first 2 development phases, and the applicant has indicated that capacity studies will be performed during the platting process. The applicant as well divides proposed phase 3 demand into north and south. The applicant has proposed that the north area will rely on sanitary sewer that is eventually extended from north of West 6th Street, and the south area will rely on future development south and the addition of a pump station. City staff provided modifications and comments on the proposed sanitary sewer service delivery, and these are listed on page 15 of the staff report. For water, water is required to be extended to new development within city limits with a looped water line to feed the area from 2 directions. The service delivery plan shows phasing of water loops for multiple phases with an initial loop shown in yellow using existing and planned extensions across K10, and the phase 3 loop shown in orange. 2 potential water tower locations are shown on the plan, one being in the annexation area. Exact location will be refined, and the 2026-2030 CIP includes the west of K10 water storage project starting design in 2029 and construction in 2030. The area will eventually be served by fire station number 6. The area is currently outside the 4-minute drive time coverage, but within the 10-minute drive time coverage. As well, additional city staff and investment may be needed beyond the identified required infrastructure improvements as the city develops west. Okay, before I get to this, sorry, I had one more point. Per Plan 2040, annexations and service delivery shall align with the adopted Lawrence Capital Improvement Plan, the utility master plans, and adopted development policies, and annexation into Lawrence shall be economical and efficient for all parties. Annexation shall minimize the return on the city's infrastructure investments and business incentives while protecting and expanding the tax base. While staff and services may be expanded down the line, the proposed annexation will be utilizing existing and planned improvements, and the developer will be responsible for all other improvements not identified in the city's capital improvement plans. Though, as mentioned, there are options down the line that could be pursued through a separate process for funding. Okay, now to recommendations. Based on staff's review of Plan 2040, west of K10 plan, the applicant submitted service delivery plan and the city's CIP and plans for services. Staff found that the proposed annexation is compliant with recommendations of Plan 2040 and recommends approval of the annexation. Okay, now on to the rezonings. Thanks for hanging in there. It's a bit of a long presentation. So subject to annexation into the city, the applicant has proposed 5 zoning districts to cover the annexation area. Land annexed into the city must be rezoned to a city zoning district. The areas to be rezoned are currently zoned AG1, Agricultural District, and AG2, Transitional Agricultural District under the Douglas County Zoning Code. Here you can see the land use as well. It's all coming up as generally agricultural uses. So each rezoning was reviewed according to the rezoning criteria in the city's land development code, and discussion can be found in your packet. Additionally, the commercial center, the CC rezoning request considers a retail market analysis. That was also included in that report in your packet. I'll briefly run through each request, and then I can answer questions about any of the specific districts afterward. Okay, so to start off, Z-26-0026 proposes that 70.1 acres be rezoned to R2, one of our low-density residential districts. This is one of the more compatible districts in the city to be located at the edge of the annexation area, though there will be a significant jump in the development potential between this district compared to the existing AG1 permissions. R2 permits multiple types of low-density housing at a density range of 4 to 6 units per acre. Z-26-0028 proposes that 16.9 acres be rezoned to R3, the city's medium-density residential district. The area will provide residential use options at a density between 7 and 15 units per acre. Though not directly abutting them, the proposed R3 district serves as sort of a transition in intensity from the more intense high-density residential up in the north, and then the commercial center over to the east. Between that and the lower intensity rural uses beyond the annexation boundaries. And just to note again, there's still area beyond the R3 district to the west within the future land use plan that would provide an opportunity to include a gradient district to the west to step down in intensity from the R3 to the rural area. Z-26-0029 proposes 23.5 acres at the intersection of K10 and West 6th Street to be rezoned to R4, residential high density. R4 permits 16 to 32 acres, 16 to 32 units per acre, and as a high intensity use, it is appropriate at the intersection of two major roadways. The inclusion of R4 at this intersection, while not originally considered in the west of K10 plan, with the amendment provides an opportunity to mix residential uses up into the commercial node, which is a goal of the plan as well. Z-26-0030 proposes 126.7 acres to be zoned CC, Commercial Center. This commercial center corridor is located along K10 and Bob Billings Parkway, both major roadways. Additional commercial acreage was contemplated in the west of K10 plan, though it was in a slightly different location. The proposed CC zoning is an appropriate set of uses and anticipated intensity to be located along a highway and major thoroughfares. Lastly, Z-26-0027 proposes that 51.1 acres be zoned P2, open space district. P2 permits a limited set of uses geared toward open space, conservation, and recreation. The applicant has proposed this district to cover an existing conservation easement. And just to speak to the earlier public comment, there was an issue with the report for this rezoning getting added to the packet. That was my mistake. And I'm happy to answer any questions on it. This is one of the more straightforward districts as it covers an existing conservation easement. Okay, and lastly here, I've just got that proposed overall zoning map again. And then listed the criteria once more here. Can bring them up again if we need them later. But based on the rezoning criteria, staff came to the recommendation for approval for each of the proposed districts. And then with that and the annexation and the amendment, here's the full list of staff recommendations, all for approval. Public comment was included in your packet. Overall concerns expressed to staff included how the proposed improvements would occur and be paid for, and what this meant for nearby unannexed properties, as well as general development impacts. Any additional comment provided after the staff report was completed has been, and before the deadline for public comment was included in the packet. Lastly, just wanted to mention this is the very beginning stage, and there will be additional conversations down the road on development and how that'll take shape and be accounted for. After this, we'd look at platting and then eventually site plans for most of the development area. I'm happy to answer any questions. The applicant is here tonight, and we also have municipal services and operations staff online as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Into this. Okay. Thank you.
And is the applicant present?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Corby Rust, Landplan Engineering, and I've been, as you probably guessed, working on this one for a while. Again, the area of annexation, 288 acres, 5 distinct zoning districts. The 126 acres of commercial center gives us quite an array of potential land uses. 70 acres of low-density residential is the buffer between the commercial and the county. 51 acres of open space in the existing conservation easement is set to be the Wildflower Park. Really, once I did the service plan, there's a lot more open space than that. More on that in a minute. 24 acres of residential high density. on the big corner of 6th and K10, and 17 acres of medium density located near the park. The comprehensive plan required policies to be addressed. One was for the city's plan for future growth. Again, we are Tier 2 growth, an area expected to be developed. More on that later. High quality, aesthetically pleasing commercial uses in residential areas. Again, this is a great opportunity to design a large area at one time that all works together. Pedestrian-friendly connectivity. By the time we're done, a pedestrian highway will exist from 6th Street all the way to Clinton Lake. Neighborhood connectivity. We are proposing streets and trails to ensure this. Recreation and preservation. I mentioned the conservation easement, and part of the service plan was to identify all drainage ways, existing ponds, existing sensitive areas. Those have been identified. Those are all part of this master plan to be preserved. Diversity and gradation of uses. Again, 5 distinct zoning classifications. Low maintenance landscaping. A bulk of the 51 acres is going to be exactly that, a wildflower meadow park, low maintenance. Vehicular circulation. New streets are designed within the entire developed area. Again, developer provided utilities, all sanitary sewer, stormwater structures, streets, and water line. Area-wide stormwater plan. We looked at this big picture, identified all the natural stream channels again, and we have quite an opportunity to make a very good stormwater plan. And enhancement of the K10 corridor. This is ideally located for commercial and residential development. The land use proposed with this amendment request is consistent with the land uses described in the west of K10 plan. The areas zoned in the proposed plan differ, but the overall land use is consistent with the plan. The proposed zoning changes allow for a wide mix of development and preservation. This provides, again, an incredible opportunity for an overall plan. We believe that the proposed use is ideal for both existing land conditions and location per the planned growth area. The development will diversify the community's commercial and residential economic base, and the planned regional attractions will bring people to Lawrence year-round. As mentioned, a service plan was provided with this submittal. The service plan outlined future sanitary service. All sewer connects to the existing manhole that exists west of K10. It's already there for us. Stormwater mitigation, stream channels, and detention areas. They've all been identified. Water distribution, you saw the water line loop connecting from Clinton Parkway all the way up to the existing water line that crosses K10 up at 6th Street. Public transit stops, future logical transit stops were shown on the plan. Future collector streets and street right-of-ways were shown. Community benefit was outlined, and emergency services. There's multiple sites available for a future fire station as needed. Nearly all this annexed ground lies within the Tier 2 growth area. This area that is immediately adjacent to current city limits and earmarked for future expansion. It's Tier 2 because it lies within the Lake Albemarle watershed. So everything identified Tier 2, gravity flows towards Lake Albemarle. So this all makes sense for immediate expansion. Both sanitary sewer, stormwater can feed into the existing city infrastructure. The one part that is Tier 3, again, is just part of that tract. It's a small portion, I think roughly 12 acres. If it can be graded to be sewered with this Tier 2 development, so be it. Whatever can't, either doesn't get developed or waits for a future day. Although a site for a future water tower was proposed, no water tower is immediately required due to the entire development in this Tier 2 area below the magic elevation of 1,066 feet, meaning the West Hills pressure zone now provides adequate service. We, as the applicant, have done our due diligence with the submittal, and we have gained staff approval, and we ask for your approval tonight. Again, I've done quite a bit of work on this, and I feel like I could answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, are there any immediate questions or concerns up here? If not, we'll go to public comment. Let's open for public comment for items 2 through 7. Even though there are multiple items here we're talking about, you're still limited to 3 minutes. You do not get 3 minutes per item. So as you come forward for your comments, please state your name and where you live. And let's open it up for public comment.
2 through 7.
For 2 through 7, yes. Well, sorry. For 1 through 7.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Rexroth. Keeping me honest.
Good evening. I'm Michael Allman, 66044. Planning staff, per the planning director's instructions, no doubt, are referring to this comprehensive plan amendment as anything but what it is, which is the Beacon Landing Sector Plan. The agenda report disguises this fact by calling it a generic future land use plan, not acknowledging that a developer, not the community, is writing an amendment to our community's comprehensive plan. Once again, the Planning Commission is letting a private developer change Plan 2040 to conform with their desires, rather than having the developer change their desires to conform to our plan. As part of Plan 2040, if the West of K10 sector plan is to be amended, it should be done through a thorough and deliberative community engagement process. Plan 2040 itself was created by a publicly appointed steering committee that employed citizen focus groups and hearings over a period of 5 years of time. According to the West of K10 sector plan, amending the West of K10 sector plan deserves as much. The public, as well as the Commission, needs to consider multiple scenarios, not only this so-called Beacon Landing sector plan, crafted by Phil Bundy for the pleasure of Phil Bundy. Please deny this self-serving, one-dimensional amendment of the West of K10 sector plan on tonight's agenda. Please initiate instead a formal process to update the West of K10 sector plan through a broad community framework that is guided by an appointed 15-member steering committee, which will report its recommendations within 2 years, is what I recommend. The steering committee shall have the typical membership of city and county commissioners and planning commissioners, and stakeholders representing areas such as the environment, bicycle and transit interests, home builders, the school board, etc. If any sector plan update should have such community engagement in its formulation, it's this one. This is the area of Lawrence has chosen through planning, policy, and infrastructure expenditures already the area to grow into. Our future cannot be allowed to be hijacked by one developer whose interests overshadow those of our broader community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Melinda Balls, 66046.
I am going to just outright say clumping all of these items together seems real shady. I don't like it. But here we are. And also, some of the benefits of this project just feels like putting lipstick on a pig in a lot of ways, because those are requirements. They're not additions to the community. These are things that are required. A 51-acre conservation easement was put there in place by the landowner prior. It's not like a benefit provided. It's what is part of that land and the landowner's will for it. Regarding the Tier 3, I know it's only about 12 acres, so it's literally just a little fraction of this development proposal. It's still Tier 3. I don't, trying to squeeze it in because it's part of the zone or part of the parcel just, again, seems real sketchy to me. As it was stated earlier, I'll just restate again. Plan 2040 states Tier 3 land is not designated to be annexed with this plan's time horizon unless the proposal is found to be the only way to address an identified community need and provide community benefit. I'm struggling to see annexing, again, I know it's only a little bit, but annexing this Tier 3 acreage into the city at this time. That 12 or 13 acres could be utilized within the current project, or I don't know. I know there's people in here that are part of the EDC. I go to that site regularly and know who's on the board and all the things. And I'm just looking at all those projects, all the land, all the buildings that are up for sale or lease that could be used for community benefit, could be provided tax dollars. I mean, we have so many vacancies across town. It's an embarrassment. It's an absolute embarrassment to see commercial vacancy, commercial vacancy, commercial vacancy all over town. But yet we're trying to, push through into Tier 3. And I realize that section of Tier 3 isn't the commercial, but it is a push through, right? Like it's pushing out into that boundary. And so again, I know the need is there for housing and for commercial, but we have a lot of acreage in town already that needs to be utilized for the commercial vacancies that we already have. Like, it is ridiculous out there. So, thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Dominique 66049. So I would like to say first and foremost, I would like to know where exactly the precedent is for taking each agenda item and not giving the public adequate access to be able to respond to that, considering this is a massive development. Additionally, there was an agenda item, a staff report, I suppose, I should say clarify, that was not posted again until almost 1 o'clock this afternoon, and so the packet was incomplete, and the public did not have adequate access to be able to review this. I mean, good God, I know that the staff has been able to review this. I know that there's been ongoing discussions, but the public has not had access to this information. How am I supposed to synthesize everything in 5 days and also present you guys some ideas? I have a lot of ideas about this, and it's not all just stop development. One of the ideas I'm thinking about is why don't we start leveraging the mixed use zoning? And instead of going to the commercial zoning, we change some of it to mixed use. Zoning doesn't have to be by the parcel, so we could start to interpurse some of that, and that appeases the plan that we're talking about, and that appeases our current comp plan that we're talking about. But we don't get to have these in-depth discussions or these ideas because the framing of this is an all or nothing. And this is a personal pet peeve of mine, because every time there's discussion about development, this is what you get put into. It's an all or nothing, and you either get to be the all or you either get to be the nothing. And it doesn't allow us for us to have nuanced discussions. I understand that you guys are not the ultimate authority at the end of the day, and that is going to be the governing body. But the whole point of the review the Planning Commission is to start generating some of these conversations. So if we're going to frame this development as an all or nothing, then let's just do nothing until we can start taking apart the pieces and look to see what fits and what doesn't. I don't understand why we're having this rhetoric to begin with, because I feel like it's stifling creativity. You guys have so much power that you could do, that you could leverage, that's under the Land Development Code. I mean, you guys could reduce some of the zonings if you guys wanted to. You could transition from a community commercial to like an M2 district, and then that would allow housing interspersed into the, and there's just, we aren't even going to get into those discussions. I hope we do, but like, the public does not get to have input. 5 days is not enough for me to synthesize this. And oh my God, guys, I have a binder where I took out everything, I wrote everything, I had little notebooks, and I had like little pieces of maps and everything, but I don't have the analysis or the time that the staff does, because I'm a citizen who works 40 hours a week, and I have other things that I do too as well, and I would love to be able to spend so much time looking at this and thinking and giving my input and giving creative ideas. Like, I plan to be in Lawrence for the rest of my life. I would like to help guide how some of this happens, and I think the Planning Commission and the City Commission don't understand their power. This is a negotiation. You guys need to negotiate. You need to leverage, and you need to be able to listen to your citizens and have us help you negotiate some of these things, right? This is not just an accept or deny. This needs to be a negotiation. The staff did the first round. You guys need to do the second, and you need to let the public help. Thank you.
Steve Kelly, 66047. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. I'm here to speak in favor of the annexation of the 288 acres and the other accompanying provisions that are being discussed tonight. I'm supportive of these various measures being discussed because they represent a significant opportunity to open areas for new housing and commercial development in Lawrence, something that's been lacking for, depending on who you talk to, 10 to 20 years, maybe longer. In that time, we've continued to see an increasing pressure put on housing prices. So we have an availability and an affordability crisis. We're in a situation where a community of our size is having less than 50 permits and houses built per year, which is significantly lower than it was for many, many years. I've lived here for almost 40 years, and it's went the wrong way. And I think a lot of that is because we've had a lack of availability of tracts of a size that would actually help us address some of this housing shortage. We have a chance now with the land annexation and the other considerations up for action this week to make a step forward. And as had been mentioned, the city's made some investment into infrastructure. This would allow us to take advantage of that infrastructure that was fortuitously timed so that it could be placed while the construction on the expansion of the SLT was underway. I think that's an important consideration. The Land Development Code was changed last year and went into effect this spring. And in that, there was a lot of provision for additional flexibility in terms of density for housing, smaller lot sizes, additional and different housing configurations, all of which encourage a variety of housing, both pricing and a variety of styles. This is a significant opportunity for the community, not just from the residential standpoint, but I believe it also provides commercial opportunities as well. The extra access provided in this development via the SLT brings with it the possibility of capturing commuters and also long-distance travelers who are traveling through the area and could be attracted to this part of the city. The Costco currently under construction in the Mercado area is considered to be a regional draw. Having additional shopping and food offerings that might be attractive to that audience, particularly those that represent products, services, and brands not currently available here or in surrounding markets, in combination with additional promotion of our traditional existing retail and food offerings, could help us increase the average spend of such visitors when they come to the community. I support the current recommendations of staff and ask the Planning Commission to act affirmatively on this set of measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there anyone online wishing to provide public comment?
Patrick Ross.
It's Patrick Ross.
Patrick Ross?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can.
Sorry, it's a little loud. I'm at Rock jogging with some raucous kids on the other side of the basketball court. But I just wanted to chime in. I really wanted to elevate the points that Michael Allman and Dominique Sexton both made. Specifically with Michael, where he cites the development plan for this area being ignored and the relying upon comprehensive plan amendments to push these things through, I think is a perfect argument in highlighting how we have a community vision for development in the city of Lawrence. And whenever we ignore these large development plans in favor of whatever a developer's vision is, we do exactly that, and we ignore what a community wants in this area. I mean, that's why the new Boston Crossing 1059 situation ended up the way it did, because it was 20 years delay of a comprehensive plan amendment that this very governing body set out to update in 3 different commissions, and that never happened. And then you led to the fight that we've been having for 3 years, in which a planning commissioner then states that a road is enough to protect the wetlands from massive development and environmental concerns. And I have significant concerns with the land conservation easement proposed as part of this plan, and how they're going to make it better by segmenting the biodiversity that is there into somehow an attractable and manageable entities. And also, to Dominique's point, just, yeah, the fact that you guys didn't properly submit this in time, so that there was very little time to actually engage on this plan. The fact that this plan is not being referred to as Beacon's Landing is also, in my opinion, a way to distract the larger community's concerns with the proposed STAR bonds for both the 1059 project and Beacon's Landing. And so, to Chamber Member Kelly's point about this being an opportunity to implement the new land development codes as far as infill and all these other like density components of that plan that he touts, I would say we should first apply that to existing space within Lawrence before touting massive sprawl into prime agricultural land as the sort of Beacon example of high density.
Pat, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else online?
Yes, Janet Ott.
Janet Ott, if you come off mute. Or Janet.
I wasn't actually trying to comment. I was just giving a thumbs up to that last speaker.
Oh, all right, thank you. Anyone else online?
No, I'm not seeing anyone else
Okay.
indicating they wish to speak.
And we'll come back to the room. Is there anybody else in the room that would like to provide public comment on this? This will be your last chance. All right, then we'll close public comment. And we'll bring it back to the commission for a healthy discussion.
Hey, Chair.
Pardon? Was that you, Commissioner?
Sure, Ken. So I have a question.
Okay.
This is Prashant.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, can I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a question for Ellie. Ellie, you said, and I just want to make sure I heard this right, that the Tier 3 was going to be used for affordable housing potentially. Is that correct?
No, not affordable housing, but it'll be zoned R2, so it'll provide additional development for additional housing supply.
I see, I see. Is there any part of this that is designated for affordable housing?
The applicant, and he may be able to speak on this more, has indicated that they're potentially pursuing an affordable housing project, but we do not have any development plans submitted. So that wasn't a formal part of our analysis.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Eldridge.
Thank you. Catherine, I wanted to make sure I understood about Horizon 2020 and Plan 2040, because I believe that the west of K10 plan was adopted in 2009.
Correct.
And that would have been with Horizon 2020.
Correct.
But then in 2019, Plan 2040 was adopted.
Right.
And then in 2021, the west of K10 plan was revised and amended. Were those revisions and amendments in total ignorance of the 2040 plan that had been adopted?
No, it looks like Jeff is going to answer.
This is a point of order, Chair. Do you want to give the applicant time for the rebuttal after the public comment?
Sorry. Yes.
Oh.
I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Corby, do you have any response to any of the public comment? Keep me honest.
Just want to reiterate, this is, the developer came to us. We have the 4 landowners that were interested in selling their land and seeing development on it. Quite a lengthy process back and forth with planning, going over the west of K10 sector plan, Plan 2040, and reading through new zoning code occurred while this was all happening. So a lot of due diligence, a lot of back and forth. This isn't something we're just bringing before you and rushing through. There's been a lot of work put into this, and we think we have an ideal compromise with the comprehensive plan and what we're doing, and just wanted to leave you with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Eldridge, my apologies for interrupting there.
No, that's right.
Okay. I don't think it was done in ignorance of the plan, but I don't think it was comprehensive in nature. This one is a little bit more comprehensive as far as what the future land use map is. So I don't know if that answered your question in totality, but it wasn't in ignorance of the changes or Plan 2040. But this one is specifically calling out goals in 2040 and land uses in 2040 that I think the applicant feels the community has shifted the priorities, so they're trying to address those in where they're changing the land uses. So,
and yet we have underway a comprehensive review of west of K10 plan. Is that correct?
Yeah. So this was a bit of a challenge for staff because we are mid-process as far as the west of K10 plan and a comprehensive plan review of the entire plan in totality. And some of that work has been done. So there was a comprehensive survey, an online survey for the west of K10 plan. There was in public engagement opportunities out west in the town hall building that is on what is Highway 40 there, just to the west of this area. There's been some draft of potential language to conform to, the adoption of 2040 and that updated land development code, but there hasn't been the completion of those public engagement processes. It's midway through the process. So when that happens, the applicant has to submit, if it hasn't been changed or that process hasn't been completed under their timeline that they anticipate, they have to submit that comprehensive plan amendment, and we have to look at it, which is why staff is only looking at those areas. It's not a total plan revision. We didn't update any other maps other than the current zoning map and the proposed land use map. Those are the 2 maps of impact with this amendment. There would be other things that would need to be addressed. And that process would have to continue to play out to update the plan in completion, so.
Do we have any idea how long that process will take to have a comprehensive west of K10 plan?
Well, I think that might be a question more for Becky and Jeff. I think it comes down to staffing and timing priorities, I guess, but.
That's pretty much what it would come down to. Given the open amendments we have and the active applications that staff is currently working at, it would be a question of just capacity at this point in time. And I don't have a good idea of what time that would necessarily unfurl at this point.
Is it fair to say, if I may ask, is it fair to say that you don't have a planned time for that to occur?
Not at presently, no. Just with the capacity and the application load that staff is currently working through.
And is there a way that we could expedite that plan in order to have it completed in conjunction with what the applicant is wanting to do for a portion of that plan? Have it all done at one time?
At this moment, I'd have to say no, given the load that we've got with the open applications, the text amendment the City Commission, the County Commission have staff working on presently. That would not be something that we'd have bandwidth to accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
So, sorry, as a follow-up there, so when you say that we don't have a sense of what the timeline is it like 3 months? Is it 3 years? Do we have no sense at all? Or is there a ballpark in which it could fall?
You know, originally when Plan 2040 was started, it was estimated to take about 2 years to complete, and it took around almost 6.5, 7 years to kind of work through the process. Every plan is unique and different, and depending upon the expectation for community engagement, the process we have, staff availability, it could be 3 months, it could be 3 years. It's very hard to tell.
Got it. Thank you.
As I looked at the the changes highlighted in there, are we talking about a broader change to 2040, or are we really focused in on the west of K10 development plan and changes only in that? Is that an accurate statement? We're not changing we're changing the west of K10 sector plan inside of 2040, but we're not addressing other areas of 24. It's not a rewrite of the comprehensive plan.
Correct. It is not looking beyond that. It's really looking at the reference plan, which is west of K10.
Right.
So it's just that plan inside of the plan, if you will.
And as I read through that, and there's a lot to read, but what I saw, the lion's share of what was redlined in the text that I saw was the removal of D&D in reference to smart code.
Yeah, I can,
It left a very small amount of change relative to this project. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So when doing this future land use revision proposal and looking at that plan, obviously since we've adopted the new land development code, our zoning classifications have changed completely, and we got rid of the smart code. So those things are irrelevant in the plan currently, and they don't do us any service to remain in that plan if we can't utilize them. So because the plan amendment came before us, staff took it upon themselves to just do the red line for those things that needed to just come out while we were doing this. It's not really a comprehensive change. It's basically just removing tools that were in there or identifying items that were in there that are no longer relevant. So.
Is it also accurate to say then the changes beyond stripping out things on smart code, just kind of bringing it up to date with where we are with the new LDC? As I observed the changes, it was not about making wholesale changes in what would or could be done inside this area, rather a shifting around of where someone some time in the past thought maybe we would do these things. And now that a development has come along, they have a little bit more precise idea about where those things might be.
I would say
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but as I read that, I was trying to figure out what the substantive change was.
Yeah, I think that would be a correct reading of that. If you look at just the red line without any context, it looks like we're changing a whole lot of things in that plan. But really, the bulk of the section is the zoning descriptions, and just updating the zoning descriptions was a multitude of pages, and then removing the references to that smart code design criteria. The real gist of what is happening in this amendment is that the commercial would now be focused along that corridor, and a shift of the high-density residential would move north. That's the primary focus of what the amendment is showing.
I'm glad, I thought I was reading that right. All right, so clicking in now into the changes that are relevant to this project. I had just one primary area of concern that I'd like to understand, and that's the balance between commercial and industrial warehouse office. Initially, I think that north of or south of Highway 40, right there at that intersection, was identified because of its proximity to those roads, commercial, industrial, warehouse kind of activity, and now that's moved to pretty high density land use. So I wonder about the thinking about moving that, and I understand the reason why you put it there and why it was contemplated there in the beginning, but I wonder about if that represents any risk. And then my follow-on question to that will be, you've got this larger block of commercial, of a blob in the middle of that. I get it, right? You're going to have a lot of new residential. That's going to make a lot of sense there. Is there anything inside of the language that you've got there that helps us assure we have some designed commercial development and try to avoid strip-like developments from occurring just by default in that area?
So that would come into play with the future applications that they would have to submit as far as platting, where they have to maintain sensitive lands, and how the layout of their commercial development would play out from the platting. And then as far as the site planning applications they would also have to submit, there are design criteria that have to come into play. So that would create that non-strip-like development that you're talking about.
Right.
And also, too, just want to, when you're talking about trading a focus of industrial use and a focus of commercial use and moving residential use, as staff mentioned, all of those things are goals in the West of K10 plan, and they are all goals in the current comprehensive plan, Plan 2040. It just becomes a matter of, which ones are priorities at this particular time. And so, staff has presented that they could meet the goals of the West of K10 plan and Plan 2040 with this change. They could also meet it if they don't do anything. I mean, it's currently meeting that. So, I mean, it's a balance of what goal is the community currently weighing, and what goal does the commission see that they want to pursue. So,
one last question, if I could. So, as this moves through a process, if it leaves here today and goes on and receives approvals down the road, do I understand correctly that a master subdivision plan will come back to this commission as a part of future development, or is this the last we're going to see of it?
Nope. A subdivision will come through for any unplatted land. There is a portion up near the church that has already, up near the intersection there, that has already been platted. I would assume it'll probably go through another platting process.
And
but
will it be in that process that we are then able to bind the applicant to the promises that they're making on community benefit?
So that's where we would look at how they're laying out the land and everything. Again, the community benefits that have been proposed are based on the zoning districts presented, because that's what we have right now. So we wouldn't get into actual development proposals really until the site plan. That's when we'd narrow down on use and actual built components.
Thank you for the latitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
May I ask a question?
please.
We did touch on this a little bit, but just to make sure I kind of understand the process. So we are in the middle of a broader community update to the West of K10 plan. So what is the rationale for having an applicant-driven amendment before that process is done? I know it does take a long time, but is there another reason?
Well, no, I mean, they can happen at any time. I mean, we get comprehensive plan amendments. It could be a single isolated parcel in some area. I mean, so when we get an application or a request, we have to review it. And so that's why it's before you. I mean, I don't know if that answered your question, but I mean, the plan is still in process. And again, we have to look at just what are they requesting in the context of what the current plan says. and analyze it from that perspective. Yeah, okay.
Just a curiosity, how many different sector areas plans around the city do you have in process?
Jeff might know that off the top of his head, maybe 6?
In process, only the one is around Lawrence currently. We're currently working the East Lawrence neighborhood plan also, which is not kind of in, not around Lawrence. But those are the two that we're trying to actively work at the minute when we have availability.
Commissioner Eldridge?
Thank you. One of the things in Plan 2040, Catherine, that you point out, and I appreciate that, are those pillars of live, work, learn, and play. And play includes the focus on downtown as the cultural and commercial center of the region. And we have, until our most recent land use code, we had defined commercial areas by size. And we had a CC 600, which is primarily on the north side of 6th Street. The increase in the commercial that's proposed in this portion of the plan, I think Mr. Kelly properly pointed out, with Costco already under construction, is going to draw a lot more commercial, because there will want to be outsiders coming and spending their money with us, whether they're from a football field being built or some other reason. And the question is, how do we preserve downtown? And I appreciate the work that was done in the zoning section with showing the slightly over 8% difference. But I think we're working with a different kind of comparison now, because when we have evaluated our commercial enterprises and how they would affect other retail parts of our city and county, it has never been with something like a regional draw such as Costco. And I think that we need to be very cognizant. Now, if the conclusion is the community has decided downtown is no longer a central figure, it's not something that we need to preserve, then I don't see a problem with adding all this amount of commercial, which is an increased, vastly increased amount. But if we still want to treasure the downtown commercial, I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem until we know more about the effect of additional commercial on that very heavy commercial site, which has taken a long time to start to develop. But I think I read in the newspaper that we've got 22 pad sites there. Well, that'll make a big difference, particularly to some of the existing commercial in other parts of the city. The other thing that I think is important is that industrial ground has been treasured in the past, and I think, Catherine, you're implying that it's not so much of a priority now as housing. But one of the things that's important about industrial is locating it with the intersection of federal and state highways so that we have the best possible transportation to and from those sites. And if we minimize the industrial that's available here, I wonder if long-term we're going to be extremely sorry we did that. And then lastly, I would say, and I think that there was a letter that we received that raises the point about housing. We need housing at all price points. And as far as I can tell, we're only talking about rental housing here, some affordable, but we need the $200,000 and $300,000 houses. That's what people are looking for, can't find. So I think that this is a very intense and very exciting proposal. I think it's the beginning of a great conversation about how we're going to actually develop west of K10. I think it needs more study and more thought. But it's a wonderful beginning, and I'm very, very glad that we have that opportunity. I think staff needs to have the chance to fully look at this area in the plan. Thank you.
A couple of thoughts, and some of the people that spoke touched upon things that I was thinking. One, Tier 3, yes, we can say it's 12 acres and that's nothing, but it isn't nothing. It is specifically said, we're not going to develop that. It is not in the development. It's not in the time frame that we are talking about. And I know the developer said, well, we may just not do anything with it. Well, we may not, we may. So that is a concern of mine. If we talk about the studies that we have had on commercial development, the last one was 2018. I don't even know what to say about that. Do we know any more than that? I really appreciate that the developer would come in and say, here, I have an idea. I remember when my wife and I built our house, we had kind of an idea, but we didn't say to the contractor, well, you just go do whatever you want to the kitchen and give us a little proposal and we'll decide. I think the city, the people, need to have more input into what are the ideas? What is it that we really want? And when you said we are about midway through public engagement on this, one of the other comments was the applicant feels that the community has shifted priorities. Well, what has the community done? And until I hate to delay development because I think that could be pretty exciting out there. But is that what we want? Is that what we need? I had not heard, Commissioner Eldridge, that you said, until you said most of this is going to be rental. I didn't think any of that had been decided, or maybe I just missed that.
I made the assumption based on density.
Okay. We do need, and I hate the big A, little a affordable, we need houses that are in a price range that, as a former public education person, I could afford. I can't afford a big thing. So those were a couple of things. The Tier 3, if we're only midway through public engagement, and I guess I'm kind of out of it. Well, I'm not Jeff Crick and know that, man, I'm overwhelmed with stuff. I'm overwhelmed with what we're trying to do, and now to have another plan to come up with it. But I think we have to. I think we have to come up with a plan that says this is what Douglas County wants. And to jump ahead doesn't, maybe I can come around, it just doesn't feel right to me. One of the things that was specifically mentioned in the material was mixed use is left out. I thought, I'm not the developer, but I thought that was a priority when we did the land development code. Mixed use, have all kinds of things in the neighborhood, and it was specifically pointed out that was left out. So I have some concerns about that. And on getting things posted late, what was posted late? What got in after the deadline? I don't know. Yes.
The report attached to the proposal about the 51 acres for open space had the incorrect staff report attached. There was a duplicate of item 3 report.
Okay. How critical is that for the public to maybe not have a chance? to have their 3 minutes to speak. So I like that a developer would come in and say, you know what, guys, I have this grand plan that I would like to see developed. I appreciate that. But somehow in my thinking, we got the cart before the horse, maybe. If Lawrence, if the unincorporated area is just going to be pushed further west and further west and further west and further west. So I'll have to do some more thinking and hearing what others are going to say, but I have some real concerns about this.
I'll take my shot here. I think the overall concept, it's, as Commissioner Eldridge said, it's exciting. The fact that potentially you could be creating I don't want to say a neighborhood, let's say a very large neighborhood, where we've often talked about being able to walk or bike or get to where or what we need without having to get in a car. This seems to check that box. I know there's concern with everything that's a change for anybody, and the majority of the land, I'm not going to make light of the 12 acres, leave the 12 acres off the side. The rest of it is in Tier 2, which was decided a long time ago. It's eventually probably going to get developed. And here's the first time we've heard something about it. That does shock some people's senses, going, oh crap, where'd that come from? But it's like, but it's been in the plan for a while. Change is hard. And then also throughout this whole process, this is step one out of umpteen. There's going to be multiple times for people to weigh in their opinion just on what we're talking about tonight. There's already 2 more. If it passes. If it doesn't pass, it's still going to the county commission. It's going to the city commission. Equal opportunity for everybody to talk to those bodies, to email those bodies, to give your concern. And then more processes start after that. We have site plans. We have, what are the actual details? How are the specific stormwater plans going to look to make sure that we have taken care of everything? And I'm cautiously very optimistic about this plan. It excites me, and that this is coming from somebody that lives out, as Commissioner Thomas does, lives out in the country, and I know there's hesitant on people. It's like, we don't want to give up our farmland. Well, we've got 4 landowners here that obviously they're going to be compensated for this, but this in my mind is for the greater good. We need housing. We've heard that forever up here, that we need housing, and we need housing of all types. I hope your assumption, Commissioner Eldridge, is incorrect. I'm not going to make the assumption that this is mainly going to be rental. I don't think it is. And affordable is so difficult. When I can't remember who of us said the $200,000 to $300,000 range. Right now, the $200,000 to $300,000 range, as scary a thought of that is, that gets you a really small ADU or a tiny house, and that's just the way, unfortunately, things are right now. But we got to figure out where does it become affordable? And I know there's other cities around that they're trying unique things. There's been things in the past where maybe a school district goes out and buys land and builds houses for their teachers, and the teachers are helping pay for it, but it becomes affordable. I know you people that are here, they might make fun of me, might give me grief. The fact I'm wearing this right here, in fact I'm wearing purple. We're in Lawrence, Kansas. Manhattan, Kansas is getting ready to do that right now with a chunk of land and 30 houses for workforce housing. That would be exciting for something like that to happen in an area like this, or any area.
I just want to agree that shirt's odd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I share the excitement about this. I understand. I've listened to the feedback, and I respect the concerns about feeling like this is rushed or haven't had time to really think about it, or we need a larger, community process to go through. I understand the desire for that. What I would point out, though, is that this isn't a new idea, that the next big area of growth in Lawrence is going to head to the west across K-10. And in fact, the community's been waiting for quite a while for the K-10 expansion in order to make it affordable to extend services across the road. It's been a part of our CIP, which we've all approved, by the way. All of us have approved that. And it's all inside the comprehensive plan that says, look, in this Tier 2, when the opportunity to develop comes, that's when you annex. Here's an opportunity to develop, and the plan says we should go. Question marks around the Tier 3 section, I don't discount that. I'm not sure why that particular 12-acre chunk happened to be Tier 3. I think maybe that's a question we should ask, but I look at what seems to be some randomness of zoning application and other features in this map, and I don't necessarily think that someone said, that 12 acres is Tier 3, and I'm going to hold it to a completely different standard, even though it's in the same parcel as Tier 2. I have less concern about that, I suppose. I intend to support this. It's been a part of our plan for a very long time. My concerns are really not around impact to downtown. I do understand that as this goes forward, those are some pretty meaty questions that policymakers are going to need to ask. But from a land use perspective, from a compliance with comprehensive plan perspective, and just everything I've known that our community's been building to on this seems to fit the bill, and I'm excited to have a really good developer take that on. So I intend to support.
Well, I have one quick, sorry.
Go ahead.
One quick question on the 12 acres. Is it Ag 1 or Ag 2 right now?
I believe it is AG1.
And so if we leave that 12 acres on its own, you can't ever do anything with it. Because you got to have at least 20 to build a house even there. So if it's not included, you can't do anything with it other than farm. And farming 12 acres by itself, surrounded by city, doesn't really make sense either. And that thought just entered my mind based on the comments.
I'll scatterbrain. Just one last thought.
Okay.
This is not some aberrant, weird thing that we're just jumping and surprising people with. This is the process that we offer developers that want to come in our community to work. It's not meant to be a surprise or to be, somebody said sketchy. It's not about that at all. This is our method that we offer the community to work. Yeah.
Commissioner Crawford.
Yeah, sorry. I have a couple thoughts. I also intend to support this plan because, the West K-10 plan was started in 2009. It's been through revisions through Plan 20 or Horizon 2020, some modifications in, Plan 2040, et cetera. But as a couple other commissioners have pointed out, Tier 2 was intended to be developed. And in my opinion, you do have to look at annexation when property becomes available. You can't, very seldomly is the city just going to go take property. I don't even know if that's legal beyond like eminent domain type stuff. And so, if the property wasn't available to sell, we wouldn't have a proposal in front of us, end of sentence, right? It wouldn't even be up for discussion because the property owners don't want to sell. In fact, July 7th, several hundred acres got pulled away because the landowner decided they didn't want to sell. The 4% of the 288 acres, i.e. the 12-acre Tier 3, is not a major concern to me because it was stated in multiple places that the zoning, the tiers were not designed with property parcels in mind. So I don't know why we would, especially for such a small segment, completely derail the entirety of it. If, on the other hand, we had a proposal that 12 acres was Tier 2 and 200 and 60 acres was tier 3, that is maybe an issue for me. That's a different lopsided in the wrong direction. I would like to point out the mixed use. Now, I'm putting words into the developer's mouth, and if he has opinions on this, I would love to hear them. Commissioner Thomas, you were concerned about why there's no mixed use in the development.
Right, I think it was specifically pointed out in the document we got.
That clocked me at first too, but here's where I came to the conclusion that it's not needed. There's a massive, I can't remember, 70 acres of commercial being developed already on the property. So in this big zone of the 288 acres, 70 acres of it is intended for commercial. Thus, the need for mixed use, which the intent of that was to allow like one level or so to have commercial property and then residential above it, so we could utilize some of the infill properties that we currently have. If there were no commercial being proposed on this property, I would totally agree with that statement, because I do see where you're coming from. That was our goal with the LDC redesign. But because there's such a large portion of that, the intent is to bring commercial to it specifically, I think that mitigates that concern from my perspective, how I would see that. The preserving downtown argument has been something going on for 50 years or more. And when a friend of ours was the mayor of this city, they proposed and they approved the West 6 development for like this, I call it small mart, Walmart, and all that stuff out in that area. And it was met with a lot of real bad press because people were very concerned that it was going to kill downtown. It did not. The current development and growth of our community, we can't rely on one strip of 7 blocks to contain everything we need in our community, whether it be housing, commercial, or other attractions to our community. I think there's more to Lawrence than just downtown. I love it. I've been here 26 years. It's my favorite place to go. But all that to be said, I do believe that preserving downtown is an argument that is not valid in this particular discussion. My last statement, and I'm sorry I'm going long, but everybody talked and I had a lot of thoughts.
You're fine. You're fine.
The Lawrence Journal-World just reported that of over 50 homes on the market right now have an asking price of $600,000 or greater. Current. There are 31 homes with a price less than $250,000. That is insane. Like, I understand that the housing market nationally is out of control, but any opportunity that's reasonable, that makes sense within Plan 2040 and our growth tiers to increase the amount of housing. When I have friends and family who cannot afford a home and who work 2 jobs, and the 50 of the homes on the market right now are over $500,000 to purchase, I don't know what else to say on that. Last question, Jeff, you have talked about this before, and I don't want to speak out of turn. What percentage of homes or market are rentals in our community, and what has been the trend?
Well, the trend has been upwards for about the last 20 years, and currently it's about 57-58% rental in the Lawrence area.
What is the national average?
Ooh, put me on the spot there. Last I knew it, it was somewhere in the 40s, if I remember correctly.
I think that one of the things that we have to contend with is this big parcel of land right in the middle of our community called the University of Kansas. That will always attract a lot of renters, right? I don't know a lot of students that come into town that want to buy a home, or unless their family is going to have a home for generations. But all that to be said, I understand that our numbers of rentals are skewed higher than the national averages, but what I don't see an issue with is trying to find a place to put people that is safe and that has access to amenities that they otherwise would not be able to find. And a lot of people who do want to rent don't want to live with the students. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I've, again, lived in this community for 26 years. But I think that having an opportunity, whether it's a mixed use, there's several zoning options within this development. We don't know what that will eventually look like. We're in the beginning phases. All that to be said, I see multiple opportunities for different zoning within this. So I rest my case.
I agree that I see opportunities for different zonings, but we only have medium-density residential proposed.
Right.
No low-density.
Yeah.
Generally, single-family houses are built in low-density.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
And I think that that's an important distinction.
I believe there is low density.
There's the zone, R2.
R3, R4.
I'm so sorry, what was that, Prasant?
Oh, are you talking about the current project?
70 acres of R2.
70 acres of R2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, there's
That's
70 acres of R2, which is low density.
low density.
Yep.
So 70 acres is low density.
Okay, they're all
That is
described
considered
as
low
this
density.
medium density in terms of our descriptions here. And
But
in
if-
the
yeah.
plan that exists now, there is residential office, which is
Mm-hmm.
employment-related and is a mixed use. That has been eliminated in the proposed plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's something that has been there for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's exciting that we've got an opportunity to have growth on the west side, but I think it's important that we do it right. And I have no problem with annexing this land. I have a problem with adopting these changes to the plan when we are in midstream of the plan. I think we should defer that. We can go ahead and consider annexation. We can go ahead and consider zonings, and I think that's appropriate. I think it's inappropriate to adopt a plan when it's only half-baked.
Sure, can I say something?
Yes.
So I think Catherine mentioned to Commissioner Eldridge's comment that she just made. I think Catherine said if they get an application, the planning department has to consider it, and that's the way it works. And similarly, if we get plans or projects, if developers bring through the planning department projects to us as a planning commission, that's our role is to, does a project fit? Does it follow the golden rule, the golden factors? And then we decide, but that the developer is the person that's driving progress and bringing ideas to us. And so I think we discount the importance of developers in our discussions sometimes, and I just want to point out that when the planning department gets an application, they have to evaluate it, and similarly, we have to do our role as well, our job as well. So anyway, that's all I got to say.
I have some questions about the open space designation and also the kind of maintaining the rural character. I think the applicant mentioned that the 70 acres of low-density housing would be kind of that buffer to create a transition between urban and rural. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about the plans for, how does that conservation easement turn into a park? Is that going to be public access at that point, or what are the plans there?
Yes, absolutely public access. And the idea was to surround it with users. So again, I'm not getting into detail about the end uses for a lot of this commercial property. Commercial essentially is mixed use for us in a lot of ways. But the idea is to have a residential, commercial, whatever that is, component around this park and it be a central focus of the entire development.
And would there be any other transition besides the 70 acres of low density, which I think is on the north part of the development? Is there, because basically this is a western divide between urban and rural, so just one portion kind of has that low density, but what else would sort of protect that rural
so the
character?
low density is on the western side. It kind of juts out into it. And that, again, those are the bigger lots, single family, non-rental, that occupy that. And that's the least dense of the zonings that we.
And that is along, you're saying, along the west, the full sort of western border?
Yeah, it west. It's still got the farmland on the north and to the south and to the west of it.
Okay, thank you.
Proximity to the park, it actually, that 70 acres has its own sensitive pretty large sensitive area, probably 12, 15 acres if I'm guessing. There's existing pond and trees that's proposed. So that's going to be additional open space as well. It's really the big easement and then a series of parks and drainage ways throughout the entire development.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd offer a motion to discuss around. I'd like to move that we approve the comprehensive plan amendment AMDT 26-0012 to Plan 2040, Chapter 8C, specific plans revising west of KT plan, K10 plan to include changes to the recommended future land use designation, to revise the future land use map and to incorporate general revisions and updates to the K10 plan, west of K10 plan, and forward to the Lawrence City Commission and Douglas County Board of Commissioners with a recommendation for approval. And if appropriate, adopt and sign the Planning Commission Resolution PCR 26-0012 for this amendment.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the comprehensive plan amendment. I'm not going to read the whole thing again. Gary just read the whole thing not 15 seconds ago. Is there any further discussion?
I guess I just want to poke at this a little more. This question as to a change in community priority from industrial to commercial. I understand that's the shift that we're making here, but I'm trying to understand on what basis have we determined that there has been a shift? And it's possible, and this could be a valid answer, that it's for us to determine or to weigh in as to what the community priority is?
Yeah, and I may not have made that clear in the report. Staff is presenting that there are two conflicting goals, and it can meet both of those goals. But ultimately, the Planning Commission, the City Commission, and the Board of County Commissioners have to decide, is this way to get the goals realized, is this the way that they want to go? So it's not really staff's opinion that one goal is more than the other. Staff is presenting you that both goals are meeting the intent of the plan, and the applicant is presenting that this goal may be more of a priority now than it was in the past.
Got it. So this suggestion within the staff report is more based on there being those two potential goals and not an indication of, hey, we've seen this over the last 5 years and these are the trends that we're identifying within the community, and based on that, this is how we're thinking about it?
It is a little bit based on that. In the conversations we've had, I'll say since COVID, and then maybe, a few months, give or take a little bit there, the way that industrial users are looking for land and the configuration, the size that they're asking for, the area that we had on this plan would have been great in the early 2000s, but is not what the market is currently seeking and what a lot of applicants are really striving for. Part of the other unknown here is really what is KDOT going to do with the interchanges at the end of the day, and how does that configuration look like? That may change some of the interest because of the circulation patterns that have changed, the way the divergent diamonds affect things can be in there. And so there's a little bit of just the way the market has kind of pivoted and shifted, and this may have even been a little bit of pre-COVID, but I can really remember it during and after COVID too. So it's not just based on, kind of us taking a best guess. It's from conversations that we've had as people have looked at Lawrence and Douglas County for industrial development, conversations that we've had with economic development team with the city of Lawrence and with the county itself, and just kind of those general conversations is that, yes, we would like industrial, but maybe this isn't giving us the configuration and the location that a lot of people would find beneficial anymore.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right, those in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Commissioner DeVore, that's 6. Okay, those opposed, same sign. 6-3, the motion passes. Any further discussion on any of the rezoning items?
We have
Oh, sorry, the annexation first, sorry, yes, sorry.
So I guess, question for staff, is it possible for us tonight to carve out the Tier 3 portion of the request and leave that out of what's being annexed? Is that within our powers?
I'll let Jeff say whether that's possible or not. I did want to clarify that portion, while we emphasize that it is a portion of a larger parcel that's part of Tier 2, it is still included in that R2 zoning designation and would provide or contribute towards that additional housing supply, which has been identified as a community need. So just wanted to specify that.
Got it.
So what was that answer?
Well, I don't.
I think Jeff's getting ready to add something.
So yes. So the item before you this evening is to make a recommendation on the annexation. And so you could recommend to the City Commission that the annexation exclude a certain area. And that is just a recommendation. They would, have an option to either take that up or to not take that up. But to Ellie's point there is to be aware is that would have an impact on the legal description for the rezoning that would be associated that one, and that would set that parcel up to be split between the city and the county, and also split between zones in some respects. So that may present some difficulties down the line that the applicant may be able to better explain or under their development proposal, but that has been seen in other cases where that has been an issue for different ramifications to it.
Got it. But if that was an issue, they could go through the channels to have that property split up into two different parcels, and you'd have one that's within the county territory and one that's within the city.
Correct.
Yeah. But that would be on the applicant to determine if that's necessary.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'd also like to clarify, is it possible if the full 288 acres is not annexed now or during this process, they could incrementally go through approval processes for different parcels in the future, correct?
Correct. They could always petition the City of Lawrence for annexation at a future date.
At their expense,
Correct.
which is not free. All right. People ready? I'd make a motion.
Yes,
on the annexation.
I
We can just
would-
test where folks are.
Yep.
Move approved request to annex A-26-0003, approximately 288 acres located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Kansas State Highway 10 and West 6th Street, based on the findings presented in the body of the staff report, and forward the request to the City Commission with a recommendation of approval.
We have a motion and we have a second. Any further discussion?
I would note my preference for that Tier 3 portion to not be included within this annexation. I completely understand why it was bundled in. I understand why it makes sense, but I also recognize that we have rules and expectations within our plans as to how this should work, and I'm concerned that this kind of piggybacking could be, and not that there's any precedential value to what we do tonight, but that kind of piggybacking could be used in an inappropriate situation in the future. And I would be just more comfortable if Tier 3 is Tier 3, it's out. Tier 2 is what's available to us, and that's what we're doing. I would note that for the decision makers after us. I expect that I would still support this proposal, but I just wanted to note my concern there.
I could just offer the reason I didn't add that as a thought in the motion that I made is a couple things. One, there wasn't any information or evidence that I saw that suggested that there was an intentional carve out of that as Tier 3, part of another parcel. Landowner who is selling that also selling the rest of it, so there wasn't some preference there. My sense was that it was an artifact that was just a part of how that all grew up in there. I weigh that against the cost of going through untangling what our process might require, and I say to myself, is it ultimately going to happen? But they just have to pay some money and go through more time. So I respect the point on that, and I had a sense that this body does respect the potential for precedent being set, and we'll keep on guard for that. That was my thinking.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think that's a very practical, pragmatic way to view this, that I don't think there's anything malicious or shady associated with this portion being included with this annexation proposal. It's more that we have a clear indication that this is how we should think about Tier 3, and it should be for something that's absolutely necessary. And then we've had commentary tonight that not only is this not absolutely necessary, it might not even be developed. So that weighs in favor of, okay, that doesn't fall within how we should be thinking of this. Yes.
Well, and I seconded the motion because I think that it is the only way to have the community benefit of having this parcel annexed reasonably.
Because of the housing?
Well.
And all the, yeah. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
It's the only way to get that
Yeah,
parcel.
understood.
in.
Yeah.
And we want that parcel to be
part of that whole
And I
body.
see that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And, go ahead.
Which would move it home.
So I guess just to put this out into the air, this isn't a proposal or direction, but if possible in the future, staff is making these determinations, or there are plans being drawn up as to where tiers should be drawn. Could it be possible to do more to align with parcels or other determinations to avoid having this kind of situation where one parcel should reasonably be treated the same way across
the entirety? Yeah.
The entirety, regardless of which watershed it falls in. Yeah, that's just putting that out there. I don't necessarily need a response. And I guess while I have the mic, if we're also talking about plans and updates, Jeff, it sounds like maybe you all would benefit from having additional resources in your office to handle some of this work. And so let me also put out a call to the decision makers that this office, like all the other worthy city offices and county offices, may warrant some additional support to ensure that they're able to fully meet the expectations and needs of our community.
Some ammo for you before tomorrow night's meeting.
Commissioner Munch, I mean, sometimes the property owner has an opinion on the annexation and how that impacts the property owners. As a property owner, that's, I understand the city and the plans and everything like that, but as a property owner, I may weigh in. So the 12 acres, there may be a reason that the property owner wants that annexed. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that's a voice that we need to listen to as well, right?
Yeah, fair.
I plan on voting for this. I think it is unfortunate that we got this far where we know the rules say Tier 3, no. Tier 2, yes. If that derails this, I think there are a lot more discussions to be had. There are other concerns that I have. And so I think it has been voiced about the Tier 3. Somebody else will vote on it. I think it is poor policy to have allowed the Tier 3 in to this discussion, but it is, and I'm still going to vote for annexation.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve item 2, the request to annex A-26-0003. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Is that your phone?
I'm waiting on Commissioner Eldridge, I know. It's okay.
All right. I picked up my husband's phone by mistake. I don't know how to turn it off.
Makes us all want to dance, Jane. Makes us all want to dance.
I'm very,
All in favor, please raise your right hand.
are we annexing now?
Yes. All opposed, same sign. 8-1.
All
I
right.
apologize.
No worries at all.
I have an iPhone, so.
That was pretty awesome, actually.
Sorry.
It's happened to every one of us
You going to take one
before.
of these?
Me?
Yeah. You want to share them? Anybody else want to go?
Are we on 26?
Item number 3.
-0026?
Yes.
Are we up for a proposed, or
A motion, yeah.
motion, excuse me? I motion to approve request to rezone Z-26-0026, approximately 70.1 acres located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Kansas State Highway 10 and West 6th Street from AG1 to R2, based on the findings presented in the staff report, and forward the request to the City Commission with a recommendation for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on item number 3 for rezoning approximately 70.1 acres from AG1 to R2. Any discussion?
I have a question. If I did not vote in favor of the annexation, should I abstain from the zoning since it, no? Okay.
Nope. We've had items such as this with that very same scenario, so no.
Okay.
No reason to excuse yourself.
Oh, sorry.
I'll wait for Commissioner Elders to take a seat.
Of course.
No, you're good. You're good. I'm waiting for you to sit down.
All right, thank you.
We have a motion and a second for item number 3 to rezone approximately 70.1 acres from AG1 to R2. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. Unanimous? 9 no, or Commissioner Thomas, abstention? I don't know that you can abstain at that point, Commissioner Thomas.
Correct. At this point, you'd have to abstain before the item was heard.
No.
Okay. 8-1.
Take number 4. Move approval of request to rezone Z-26-0027, approximately 51.1 acres located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Kansas State Highway 10 and West 6th Street from AG1 District to P2 Open Space District, based on the findings presented in the staff report, forward request to City Commission with recommendation for approval.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Second, Commissioner Wilson. We have a motion and a second to approve rezoning approximately 51.1 acres from AG1 to P2. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed, same sign. 8-1. To item 5.
I move to approve the request to rezone Z-26-0028, approximately 16.9 acres located at the southwest corner of the intersection of Kansas State Highway 10 and West 6th Street from AG2 to R3, based on the findings in the presented in the staff report, and forward the request to the City Commission with a recommendation for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rezone approximately 16.9 acres from AG2 to R3. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. 7-2. Item 6.
Approve a request to rezone Z-26-0029. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request to rezone Z-26-0029, approximately 23.5 acres, located at southwest corner of the intersection of Kansas State Highway 10 and West 6th Street from AG1 District to AG2 District and AG2 District to R4 Residential High Density District, based on the findings presented in the staff report, and forward the request to the City Commission with a recommendation for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Wilson. We have a motion and a second to rezone approximately 23.5 acres from AG1 and AG2 to R4. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed? 7-2.
I would like to make a motion to approve the request to rezone Z-26-0030, approximately 126.7 acres, from AG1 and AG2 to CC, Commercial Center District, based on the findings presented in the staff report, and forward the request to the City Commission with a recommendation for approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to rezone approximately 126.7 acres from AG1 and AG2 to CC. Any further questions or discussion? All those in favor? Oh, Commissioner Eldridge.
I would like to say that I'm going to oppose this one, and the reason I'm opposing it is that I believe that it is in conflict with Plan 2040, particularly because of the protection that is necessary for the downtown, and which happily CNN noticed.
It's true.
Thank you.
Yeah. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Nope. All opposed,
That was a
same
quick about
sign.
face.
Opposed, same sign. 6-3. With that, that brings us to the end of our business. I would gladly accept a motion for recess.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to recess the meeting until Wednesday's meeting. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you and good night, everybody. Thank you for all showing up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Great discussion tonight.